The successor of the all-time famous Poco X3 Pro is here. I'm going to tell you all about the Poco X4 Pro 5G today, and if you're watching my channel for the very first time, a subscription would be massively appreciated. Alright, as you can see, there is a big shift in the design of this phone. With the design, there is a change in the build too. Compared to the bulky and thick Poco X3 Pro, the Poco X4 Pro is lightweight, slim. It's got a flat frame, better ergonomics, and it looks pretty good in my opinion. The frame is plastic, but the phone is fully built out of glass, and glass at the back is not specified. Front is using the Gorilla Glass 5 though. The style cutout for the camera at the back gives this phone a very sophisticated look. But if you just trim down this style cutout, you will find that this camera module is actually identical to that of the Redmi Note 11 Pro's camera. The back gives you that lens flare at the back when it's exposed to light, and this is why this black color is called the laser black color. You get 3 cameras at the back of this phone, as you can see, and on the top right corner is Poco's branding. Since this back is too glossy, it's super difficult to maintain it without a cover. Fortunately, Poco has not cut down any corners on the ports. You get the headphone jack on the top alongside the IR blaster, mic and speaker. A shared dual SIM card slot with microSD card slot support can be found at the bottom alongside the USB-C port, another mic and the speaker. The side-mounted fingerprint scanner also works as the power button, and it's got the volume rocker next to it. This phone is IP53 rated. Do not expect it to survive deep underwater. It's just a splash-proof device. There is a big upgrade in the display department. Poco has used AMOLED screen on the X4 Pro, a 6.67 inches or a 6.7 inch screen with 120Hz refresh rate. Camera punch hole is small, and surprisingly the bezels are sleek with a not so fat bottom chin. Display profile is definitely amazing. Brightness goes up to 1200 nits. Elements are easily visible under broad daylight, and no viewing angle issues are supposed to happen. The touch sampling is 340Hz, I guess. This is a super comfortable display to use, and it is indeed a great jump when we look at the LCD screens used in the old Poco X series devices. Because this is an AMOLED panel, you get features like the always on display on this one. My experience of media consumption has been pretty good so far. Colors are accurate and there isn't really anything to complain about. This is the kind of display that I would love to see on other mid-range devices actually. The haptic feedback, well, that deserves to be mentioned here. I really liked the haptic feedback on this phone. It's really clicky and it's good. Poco might have declared itself an independent brand, but it can't get away from Xiaomi's DNA. The Poco launcher on the Poco X4 Pro has the MIUI 13 as its base UI, and the core operating system is Android 11. I think the Android 11 is too old for a phone like this. It should have been Android 12. There isn't any special or extra feature in this phone. It's got all the features that you see in a typical MIUI 13 powered phone, and in fact there is a couple of features less in this phone. The additional features bring you second space, but you can see that there isn't any video toolbox, and a couple of other features are missing here. Plenty of gestures is available and some advanced settings are there. Honestly, there isn't much to talk about the software particularly. By now, you might have assumed that this is a pretty darn good device, but wait, how can Poco give you everything so great with zero compromises? Well, I think Poco has cut the corners in the most important area, the performance. The phone is powered by a 6nm Snapdragon 695 chipset along with Adreno 619 GPU, and this needs a bit of an explanation. The model number of the Snapdragon 695 will confuse you at first, since the 6 series Snapdragon chipsets are not so powerful, but surprisingly the Snapdragon 695 is certainly more powerful than the Snapdragon 732G used in a lot of phones last year. However, this chipset is way inferior to the Snapdragon 860 of the Poco X3 Pro. It goes without saying that the performance of the Poco X4 Pro is way inferior to its predecessor, and I think the global chip shortage has played a role here. Poco devices are supposed to be power-packed phones with their focus on gamers, and this is certainly not the case with the Poco X4 Pro 5G. The Antutu and Geekbench scores are on the screen, and I think these scores are not so great for a phone of this kind in the year 2022. I did run a couple of games on this phone, and I wasn't surprised to see the limitations of Snapdragon 695, as it doesn't let you choose smooth extreme settings in the PUBG Mobile. You can only game in smooth ultra, and the graphics do not look so high definition either. Graphics are just acceptable, the games do run without lags and stutters, and the phone doesn't heat up either. But yes, there is a big compromise in the overall game quality. You will also find jittery and over-sharpened graphics in the games like Asphalt 9. The speakers of this phone are good though, the stereo speakers will not let you down. One good thing about the Poco X4 Pro 5G is that despite being so slim, this phone brings a whopping 5000 mAh battery. The Snapdragon 695 is not a power-hungry chipset, and that's combined with the AMOLED screen on this phone. So this phone is definitely going to give you a great battery backup. During my limited testing of this phone, its battery did not drop significantly and it held up pretty well in the idle mode. To charge it, you get a 67 watt charger in the box, and it literally goes from 0 to 100 in a matter of 40 to 45 minutes. Poco X4 Pro brings a triple rear camera setup, with the main sensor being a Samsung one. The rest of the camera sensor details are right here on your screen. The camera app is pretty basic and it misses out on a lot of features like the RAW format in the Pro mode. Video recording capabilities are limited to 1080p at 30 frames per second. There isn't even a 4K at 30 frames per second mode, let alone the 1080p 60fps video recording mode. I will show you some camera samples on the screen to give you an idea, but the limited test that I did, it helped me conclude that the Poco X4 Pro 5G is not a camera phone. Its camera is very basic and it might not serve the purpose for many users. I will definitely do its full camera review to give you guys a much better idea, but for now, this is not a camera phone and its capabilities are super limited. And this now brings us to the conclusion. For a price of $320 US, you are not getting a gaming device and you are not even getting a camera device. So what Poco is actually trying to sell here? You can find many other devices with much better features in the same price bracket. The Poco X4 Pro apparently looks very cool, but certainly fails when it comes to the performance and the cameras, and these two I think are the features that most users cannot compromise on. Unfortunately, this device does not get my recommendation at least, but you guys are free to disagree and drop your own thoughts and analysis in the comments below. I would love to have a discussion there. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe now and like this video too. With that being said, I will sign off and see you all in the next one.